Hello YouTube, this is Asatsu5 and today I'm doing a book review over the Swiss Army Knife Collector's Companion by Derek Jackson. This is my supposedly antique Swiss Army knife. I'll get into that later. But yes, this is a cool book. Basically, if you're into Swiss Army knives or if you're into knives in general, you gotta pick up this book. It's a good read. It's a very easy read. For those of you who like pictures, it has many pictures, and each picture has a little blurb about it, like right there. And if you want to read about that particular photo and what it means, you can do that. And it also has this main storyline in between the pages as well. I found this to be a very educational book and a very fun book to read. Me being the guy I am, I love knife history. I love history in general, but knife history, that's some really cool stuff. And I've gained a lot of knowledge. Excuse me, I'm coughing. I'm getting over the pneumonia. I've gathered a lot of knowledge about knives throughout the years. I didn't think I knew everything, but I knew a lot. In this book, I still found useful new information that I didn't even know of, like I never knew existed. For instance, this book talks about general knife history, general Swiss history, Victorinox history, and they touch up on Wangle, and then they have stories in the back of people using the Victorinox to save their life, or to save their trip or expedition, or to make life just a little bit more comfortable. And they gathered these stories and put them at the end of the book. But one of the chapters in general knife history, they talk about Native Americans in Wisconsin that had the ability and the technology to make copper blades, and that just blew me away. For the longest time, I thought that copper blades and copper tools were only made in the European area, maybe Asia, but in the Eastern Hemisphere. I never knew in the Americas that we had metallic tool technology, and apparently it wasn't very widespread. But as you know, when white men came to America, they were all using stone tools. There were no blacksmiths, nothing like that. But primitive men in Wisconsin, the Indians or Native Americans, whatever you want to say, they made copper tools and blades, and they dug them up in Wisconsin. And I was like, wow, I had no idea. Also, did you know that the original Swiss Army knife, similar to this, was made first in Solingen, Germany, not in Switzerland? Charles Elzenor's family owned a hat shop as well. Charles Elzenor family owned a felt hat shop, and Charles, I guess, didn't see a big future in hats, so he traveled to Solingen. He traveled to France. He learned his trade of cutlery. He became a cutler, and he came back to Switzerland, which had no cutlery background, at least since the 1700s. There was not a rich blade making history in Switzerland. So he came back to Switzerland, and he wanted to make knives for the Swiss Army, which they were at the time they were getting them from Solingen, Germany. And his main goal for the knife company was to give Switzerland men jobs, to give men and women of Switzerland jobs, because he believed that to have self-worth and to be a functioning human being, you need a job. It's good for you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You know, well, I don't know about spiritually. That's what church is for, but you know, it does yourself good to have a job and to know that you're needed and that you're providing and that you're earning something. It's good for you. And he wanted Switzerland citizens to have jobs, which at that point Switzerland was economically busted. There wasn't a lot of jobs. There was a lot of Swiss men who were moving away from home into other countries just so they can have a job and have a decent pay. And so he wanted to boost Switzerland economy. He wanted jobs for Swiss citizens, and he wanted the Swiss Army to have knives made by Switzerland for Swiss people. And so I just summed up the mission statement for Charles Elsner, but this talks about how Victorinox got its name. This talks about a few different designs, and it's a very affordable book. I don't know how much it cost. Without thinking, I took off the price tag, and now I can't remember exactly how much I paid for it. I want to say I paid $26 for this book, which it's not like the thickest book in the world, but it has a lot of information in it, and if you like knives in the slightest bit, you'll find entertainment in this book. Like I said, it's very easy to read. When I first got it from the knife store in Hot Springs, I started reading it. I couldn't put it down. I was turning pages, reading one page after another, and then it was time for me to go to bed. I read until I was too sleepy to read, went to bed, woke up the next morning, picked up this book, and I'd read it as we were driving from one end of Arkansas to the other. And I wasn't driving, my friend was driving, but it was very interesting, and I sincerely enjoyed this book. And before I start rambling on, I don't know what page it is, I read this book and I found out some disturbing news about this knife. It appears this tang stamp doesn't really comply with this tang stamp. So there was a possibility that this is a counterfeit. And if it is a counterfeit, it's a good counterfeit. They aged it and made it look old. And I hate to think that someone purposely ripped me off. But I want to look at the bright side. This makes a good display piece. So I can put it in a shadow box, and it looks like a Victorinox. It looks like a old style Swiss Army knife, and it's kind of cool to look at. I mean, for the longest time, I was convinced that it was an antique, vintage Swiss Army knife, and it'd be kind of cool to hang up on a wall or put in a display box. So yeah, I'm a little sad that it's possibly counterfeit, but it's not going to bum me out. I'm going to look at the bright side. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm a Satsu5, and I'm out.